All right, welcome back to Topics in Ancient World History. And today is the last video in this series of 6, looking at the key concept 2.1.2.D. And we're looking at the very last part of this, the and eventually gained Roman imperial support by the time of Emperor Constantine. All right, so kind of focusing in on this, gaining, becoming an official religion and a state religion. So once again, my disclaimer, I'm a lowly high school history teacher attempting to apply the curriculum framework, not a professor of history, philosophy, and theology, and not a theologian. Please consult your own personal parents, please, deacons, ministers, etc. for matters and questions of faith in your own personal life. All right, so let's get into this, gaining Roman imperial support. All right, becoming an officially tolerated religion and becoming the official religion. So within the history of the early Christian church, there's obviously a long period of time that goes by where Christianity is not going to be the official religion, and many are aware that there are times in which Christians are persecuted, but that is not a continuity throughout the entire reign. The entire time before, from when Christianity becomes a religion to the time it becomes an official religion. So let's just go through some kind of major events within the Roman Empire in which Christianity rises, and kind of just look at different ways in which Christianity was treated. So, famously, 64, Nero. So Rome will suffer a terrific fire, and much of the city is burned. And Emperor Nero, he will use Christians as a scapegoat for the fire, blame them for the fire. So large numbers of them are going to be arrested. Numerous sects are going to be arrested, rounded up, put to death, tortured, for the citizens of Rome. So when we think about persecution of Christians within the Roman Empire, this is one of those examples. All right. In 197, we do have an example of a demand for legal toleration of Christianity to be treated as all the other sects within the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire was a religiously diverse place, as Christianity rose within it. All right. We see in Trajan, Trajan Decius, 249 to 251, decides Christians are the real enemy of the Roman order and stability, and as such, requires that all Christians not only offer sacrifice to Roman gods, but also to obtain official certificates from witnesses to their offering. So this is actually kind of similar to what we will see in kind of early years of the Tokugawa shogunate, and how they rooted out Christianity, is that they forced people to publicly do things that would be worshiping other gods. And because Christianity is a monotheistic religion, publicly doing so is problematic. All right. So another well-known example of persecution. 313 is a very important date for Christianity within the Roman Empire. This is Emperor Constantine, who himself converted to Christianity. He will outlaw the religious persecution within the Roman Empire. Right. So this is following an event, known as Milvian Bridge. Constantine's own mother had been a Christian previous to this, and it's an interesting story if you have not heard the story of his vision and kind of the reason for him doing what he did. Right. So the Edict of Milan is known because it promises Christians legal rights and the rights to organize their churches openly. It makes Christianity a tolerated religion. Okay, so this does not make it the official religion of the Roman Empire, but it does make it a religion that is now, one of the officially recognized ones. As Constantine himself was a Christian, you're also going to see, the events in the 320s, kind of culminating in the Council of Nicaea. Right, so, and of course, this will produce what it becomes known as the Nicene Creed within Christianity. So this is going to be, a council that is convened in Nicaea. This is, modern day southern Turkey. And by Constantine, right, and established the equality of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit within the Trinity, right? So settles the Trinity debate for what is going to become the officially recognized version of Christianity within the Roman Empire. You also get what's out of this comes the Nicene Creed, which is a statement of the beliefs of this new version. So what we see happening here is Christianity by the 300s has spread throughout the Mediterranean world, and Christianity has many different forms by this point. And now that it's becoming associated with the Emperor of Rome, you're seeing an effort by the Emperor to try to create some uniformity within the religion itself. So this kind of transition to state religion is happening, all right? And then the official making it a state religion technically is in 380, right? So this is Theodosius, and right, this makes Christianity the official religion. And there's going to be some issues associated with this, or some ramifications of this. Right? When we start talking about Christianity becoming an official religion, you're going to see it take on some of the hierarchical structures that exist within the Roman Empire itself. And so one does ask, do these hierarchical structures come from the Bible, or are they purely because of the effects of emerging in the Roman Empire? So when you look at these church hierarchical structures like bishops and presbyters or priests and deacons and structural hierarchical things such as this, this is all part of Christian tradition, but you could make an argument that it is from the Bible, right, itself. But many, as far as part of tradition, a lot of this comes out of letters from Ignatius, right, of Antioch, around the beginning of the 2nd century CE, so the early 100s, and largely reflect the hierarchical structures, right, within the Roman Empire and their courts and such. So out of the doctrine of the 12 apostles, from the same time, this will also unify basic Christian practices. So, a lot of things that we often associate with Christianity, these are things that get, kind of formalized within many of the different branches by the early 100s, right, within it. As we start talking about Christianity becoming an official religion, part of the transition to an official religion is going to be transitioning, because Christianity is not a religion that coexists with other religions, because it believes that it is the one and true faith. You're going to see the rooting out of other religious beliefs and cults at this time, which also means you're going to see a lot of the structures that were used for worship are going to be converted over to Christianity. One of the most famous examples here is the Pantheon, right? So, which means honor all gods, and is built under Emperor Hadrian. And this is going to be converted into a Christian church in 609. All right. You're also going to see once Christianity becomes the official religion, the kind of cementing and formalizing of these hierarchical structures within the church. So Pontifex Maximus, the head of the College of Pontiffs in ancient Rome. So the title and structure taken on by the Catholic Church, right, supported by Emperor Gratian in 382, right? And Caesaropapism is also a word that we start to see around this time. The political system, which the head of the state is also the head of the church and the supreme judge in the religious matters, right? And under this system, emperors are going to preside over councils, right? And and their will is the decisive, right? In the appointment of church leaders, and determining territorial limits of their jurisdictions. For example, Constantine at Nicaea is a classic example of this. And this is one of those things that, as time goes on, you're going to see a divergence of this. And the Latin Church or the Roman Church is going to, especially following the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, is going to kind of move away from this, while the Eastern Church or the Orthodox Church is going to kind of maintain this Caesaro-Papist relationship with the Patriarch of Constantinople. So this is one of those things that will transition, right? So Eastern Rome, right, the emperor, under the Byzantine Empire, the emperor will act as the protector of the universal church, right, and the manager of administrative affairs. As you start to see that gap grow between Rome and Constantinople, the Roman Church, right, the Pope will not have secular kings, managing the affairs, right? Russia under Ivan the Terrible and Peter the Great will transform the church into a department of the state. So you will see, a subservient, right? Of the church under them, and to this point where Russia today, under their current leader, he is preventing the patriarchs within the Orthodox Church from even meeting. So they cannot even meet today within the Orthodox Church as a council, because of the Russian president refusing to allow his patriarch. And if the Russian patriarch cannot go to the meeting, then they cannot have a council. Right? Under Protestantism, right, Protestant Reformation and Western Christendom, you're going to see, you are going to see Henry VIII, right, kind of have his influence on this as well, right? So moving Western European church, at least with the Anglican Church, right, in its creation, will have connection directly to the monarch, all right? And so yes, all right. So the Reformation will have an impact on this as well. All right. So when you're talking about the rise of the Christianity as an official state religion, this is going to mean rooting out of all of the different cults and other religious groups that exist, including all the ones that we mentioned before. In these earlier videos, like Gnosticism, for example, these things are going to be pushed to the side once you get an official state church. But also, there's a lot of other religions that were in existence that are simply being pushed out. I just want to talk about a couple. One is, the cult of Mithras, right? So this is a religion that existed from the 1st to the 4th century. Sometimes it's known as the mysteries of the Mithras. Its origins are uncertain, but academics believe that there's a kind of a link between ancient Vedic gods or South Asian god Murtra, as well as Iranian Zoroastrian deity Murtra. So this is a religion that will disappear around the 4th century. Okay. Next is the Vestal Virgins, which are kind of very well known in Roman history. The College of the Vestals was disbanded, and the sacred fire of the Vestals was extinguished in the year 394 by order of Emperor Theodosius. All right, and so this is one of those things where a very well established and traditional religion within the Roman Empire will come to an end once you see Christianity becoming the official religion, right? So numerous cults are going to be shut down. All right. So that all said, this is all going to have an impact, and we're kind of transitioning into a new topic here. Patriarchy continued to shape gender and family relations. This is a massive topic, but once you see a lot of these cults, especially the ones in which women were dominant in, you then have to ask, what is Christianity's view on women and on gender, and how does that change once it becomes a state religion? So here's a number of excerpts from the Holy Bible that talk about women and gender. All right, so you're welcome to pause and read through those. Now I'm going to go to the next slide. All right, for a few additional ones there. All right. So that said, how does this change under Christianity? Right. So if you look at this passage. All right. So this is from Luke. Yeah. And looking at Mary of Magdala. Yeah. So now after this, Jesus made his way through the town and villages, preaching and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom of God. With him went the 12, as well as certain women who had been cured of evil spirits and ailments. Mary, surnamed the Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out. Joanna, the wife of Herod's, Stuart, Chusa, Susanna, and several others who provided for them in their own resources. All right, so a couple things about this particular passage, right? First off is the women provided for Jesus and the 12, which suggests women they're well-to-do, respectable figures, right? So, and secondly, they'd all been cured of something, right, including Mary. And this is one of those things. It's hard to kind of understand what the severity of what it was, and whether or not there is a blurring, right, blurring work of the memory, of this, right? So as Christianity will get diffused, right, the women, the language here, may take on different meanings, right? So what is meant by that is, after the Gospels are written, but before the New Testament is defined as such, right? So before Nicaea, when the official books are chosen for the New Testament, there is an idea that Jesus, may have rejected the prevailing male dominance within society, right? And had a different vision for the Christian community. The Gospels themselves were written, several decades after Jesus, and can be read to suggest that the erosion, because of the emphasis on the authority of the 12, who are all males, is in place. And this idea of the 12, right? Today, it's this is used by the Vatican to exclude women from ordination, right? But in the books of the New Testament, the argument among Christians over the place of women in the community is implicit, and becomes quite explicit, right, in other sacred texts of that period. All right, so there's kind of that kind of aspect of it. But you can also look at this kind of stuff from, by looking at, what happens with Mary, right? And so this is from Pope Gregory, right? From 540 to, he was, circa 540 to 604, right? Is around the time of him. So kind of early in the church, but well after the church had been established as a state religion. So this is Pope Gregory and his stand, right? His view on this. She whom Luke calls a sinful woman, whom John calls Mary, we believe to be the Mary whom 7 devils were ejected according to Mark. And what did these 7 devils signify, if not all the vices? All right, so what are we talking about? This is known as, so this is Pope Gregory, sometimes referred to as Gregory the Great, and he remains an extremely influential pope in the early years of the church. Right, so, and he'll put his seal on what until then had been a common but unsanctioned reading of the story, that Mary's conflicted image, right, is, once he establishes this will become the generally accepted view of her. So throughout the Middle Ages and the Counter-Reformation period into the modern period, monks and priests are going to read these words, right? Chivalrous knights and nuns will establish houses of unwed mothers and courtly lovers and desperate sinners and frustrated celibates, right? And they will view her as, as the sinner, right? And, and men of the church will benefit from this recasting of the role of women within the church, right? By using this as the justification to exclude said women. So it's an interesting take, right? But but one that does need to be explored as you are looking at the transition of this religion into an official state religion. All right, that is all for today.